Welcome to the Franchise Woman podcast, where passion and purpose collide, profits are made, and relationships forged. I'm Rebecca Monet, CEO and Chief Scientist at Zorich Profiles, along with my co-host, community advocate, speaker, author, and entrepreneur, Tracy Cowell. I have a very special guest today with us. In fact, I've been hunting her down for the past year, so I'm so glad you're with us today, Allison Zorich. And Allison is an accomplished executive franchise leader with over 15 years experience in sales, operations, business development, strategic planning, brand development, and she has exceptional skills in communication, relationship management, and developing and implementing successful company goals and structure. Prior to joining FranDevCo, Allison was president of Provello Cycle, an emerging boutique fitness concept. Allison was responsible for all the operational components required to launch the brand into franchising. Before Provello Cycle, Allison was the president of franchise development for premium service brands, where she was responsible for the growth and management of several home service-based concepts. And before that, she spent 9 years with Guidant Financial as her director of business development. In this role, she was responsible for managing and training a team that focused on franchise partner prospecting and management. That's when I met you, Allison.
Yes.
I am so looking forward to this interview. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much, Rebecca and Tracy, for having me. That was quite the background. I don't think I stack up to quite all that, but I appreciate the intro and apologize for how long it took for us to make this happen, but super excited to be here today.
You're a busy lady.
Yes, and humble too, very humble. So,
thank you.
Allison, you have like such an incredible array of experience and skill sets. So where did it all begin? How did you get into franchise?
I kind of fell into it, actually. So my job previously, about 15 years ago, was with a scent branding company out of Charlotte. And that company was responsible for implementing luxury scent, signature scents to casinos, restaurants, real estate, apartment management, assisted living. And so my exposure to franchising was through that when we actually started pursuing franchise concepts like Anytime Fitness and other things in that space that would require scent. And I quickly learned that franchising was a very small world. And so that was my first exposure to it. And then oddly enough, about a year later, I got a call from the CMO at Guidant Financial, and she said, "Hey, I know you're not looking, but I think you should check out this job with Guidant, and you would be great." And it's based around franchising, and that's how I jumped in.
You're in high demand, girl. You're in high demand even back then. So, franchising is such an interesting space, and like you said, it's intimate, it's small. Now you're with FranDevCo. Can you tell us a little bit about what excites you about FranDevCo, what FranDevCo does?
Sure, absolutely. So FranDevCo has actually been around for about 3 years. There was a couple separate offices, one on the north, one in the south, and now there's just one office located actually back in Charlotte. Charlotte keeps drawing me there for some reason. And this is, we're a boutique FSO. We've only been in this space for about 3 years, really on our own, standing for about a year and a half. The CEO and partner is Sung Ohm, who I actually worked with back at Guidant Financial. So that was one thing that drew me back to being part of the team. My first day earlier this year, I walked into the office and immediately felt like I was at home. All of us truly are family, from marketing to the technology to our development directors to our COO, who we just brought on, who is Drew Chalfant. He was an attorney in the franchise space for quite some time, way back to Cycle Bar days, and we're fortunate to have him come over and be our COO, hang up his license, but still give us that legal expertise. But FranDevCo really focuses on supporting roughly 10 to 15 brands. We've got I'd say 25 to 30 employees, and we're going to try and keep it on the smaller end so we can give each of our brands the attention they need. We have brands from service brands to brick and mortar, so we don't specialize on one specific vertical, which is nice because it allows us to have that variety when we're presenting to all of our broker relationships that we have out there. This year, we'll probably look to bring on a couple more partners by the end of the year, which will take us to 12 brands to date. And it's just getting more and more exciting. We're growing by the day, which is fun, but it's also very fast paced, and we're hiring, and it's good times. Yeah, I'm excited to be part of the family. I'm not going anywhere. This is it.
That's really cool. And it's interesting that you say you're excited to be part of the family, because there's this recurring theme that I'm already hearing, which has to do with relationships. Like, this person from your past reached back out and said, hey, you would be great for this. And then when you went to work at a different place, it was somebody that you worked with from a long time ago. So how important are these relationships to you? And is this one of your favorite part, let's say, of the work that you do, developing these critical relationships?
It is. That's a great question. Relationships are probably the biggest importance to me. You can sit on a webinar all day long and pitch brands for 8 hours over and over, but if you're not working with people that you like or in the industry, you're not going to have the passion that you would. The relationships I've built over the last 15 years extend from franchisors to financial partners to brokers, consultants, all over the board. And actually, a lot of them have become my close friends. A lot of the women in franchising bond together, which is always nice to see that they support and lift each other up. The founder of Lash Lounge, the founder of Massage Heights, the founder of SCOA, all of us are pretty close. Rebecca knows Sally's in that mix too. And we travel together where our kids know each other. So that part is really important to me. And FranDevCo is no different. I was at Sung's wedding. I watched him walk down the aisle. I know his kids. I go to his house when I come into town. And so I can call on them any time of the day. And we all know we always have each other's back.
That's great.
I like the diversity of it too, because you are a master relationship builder. Because oftentimes the relationships are just within our own company if you're in the corporate environment. But in franchising, the relationships are, like you said, with vendors, attorneys, financial folks, it really becomes a big network in a small pond, so to speak. And I love your focus on relationship, and those who make it their focus do well in franchising.
Well, it takes us all, right? It's not just a one-legged stool. It takes all of us in the different areas of the business and different facets to make sure we're getting entrepreneurs to where they need to be.
So I'm wondering if I could ask kind of an off-the-wall kind of question. Has there ever been something in your life that was pivotal, that was kind of an aha moment? Maybe it was a person you met, or a book you read, or a situation you went through that ultimately shaped who you were or changed the course of where you were.
Great question. Definitely a lot of that mixed together, books, people, but first and foremost, it always comes to my mind is my first boss out of college. Her name was Tracy Hallgrimson. I went to work for Starbucks corporate right out of college, and we did store development for Washington, Oregon, Idaho, and Canada. And let me tell you, this woman, she is a boss. She commanded respect from our entire team, Howard Schultz, the executive team. I watched and learned from her for about 4 years. And I saw that she could balance being a mom, being a wife, and just really having this respected career. So she has always been my first mentor, and I'm still in touch with her today. So she'll always be my go-to.
The boss.
Yes, she is a boss. Wow. She's powerful.
I think that begs the question, how important are mentors? Who are some of your mentors today? And what is it about that relationship that's so critical?
Right. I have a few mentors. I don't know that I want to call them out by name on the podcast, but a lot of them are women. I mean, I do have actually 2 men in the space that are industry veterans that have always been my go-to to ask questions, whether it's regarding development or how I should handle onboarding a new partner, things of that nature. But I think having a good mix of both and not just focusing on, I only need female mentors, because we all literally work together in the same space. This used to be a very male-driven industry, and it's not. It has definitely shifted, which is exciting to see, but I rely on a few in the space to make sure that they're guiding me in the right direction.
Yeah,
Nice.
there's nothing that can replace. I like also that you have a variety, and I'm assuming these are folks that have expertise in the areas that you approach them in. So when you're going with a question, you're asking someone who's had experience in it or expertise in it.
Absolutely, for sure. And they're also unique in what they've done and what they've experienced in the industry. Some have been CDOs, some have been coaches like you, Tracy. So being able to target them for my situation, whether it's how to develop a relationship or, you never want to burn bridges in this industry. It's so small. And I kind of pride myself on hopefully never having done that and won't do that, because people talk and they want to work with people they like.
Yeah. So again, as Tracy pointed out, there's this undercurrent of relationship that is within you that seems to define who you are and is top of mind. So A, is that a theme? And B, are there other themes in your life? Maybe a motto you live by, or a belief system that you have, or something that you value. Are there other themes, or is this the theme? Relationship, relationship, relationship.
Yeah, it's funny. I hear that often. In fact, Sung always says, how do you remember their kids' names and where they went on vacation? I kind of pack it all away, but relationships first and foremost in this business are key, almost more important than the brand. Sometimes brokers will work with people they like and they know that they could trust and get deals done with. So I've definitely prided myself on making sure that I do have those relationships intact. And if I don't know somebody, that I make the effort to learn about them. In this industry, you have to be very adaptable. I can't approach one consultant like I do the next, because they are very unique in their personalities across the spectrum. So I think that's kind of one of my skill sets, that I know when I can be loud and vibrant, or when I need to dial it back a little bit. So relationships first and foremost. Motto that I live by, that I probably say weekly, is that I will sleep when I'm dead. I am going a mile a minute all the time, whether I'm shuffling my kids or work or whatever it is. So I don't slow down much, which I think maybe keeps me a little bit younger. But yeah, that's what I live by. I'll just sleep when I'm dead.
Okay, then I have to ask, how do you balance it all?
Yeah, with a little sleep for sure. I do try and make an effort to work hard, play hard. I'll take time for my kids. My kids are very active in sports. And so my husband and I and my family love to go boating and traveling and things like that. So thankfully, FranDevCo's philosophy is you need to take time when you need it. And there's no questions asked on that. So we do get a good balance to kind of take a step back and reset when we need to.
No questions asked. I love that.
Yeah. Well, and it's a testament to the family atmosphere that FranDevCo has created, the value that you have as part of the family, that we're going to keep you healthy by giving you time to do what you need to do with children and husband and leisure and whatever it takes. So it speaks to the culture that's been created there. So you are well known in this space, and your face is highly recognizable, in part because you're like stunning.
Oh, thank you.
You are so gorgeous.
Thank you.
So is your heart. So is your heart, quite gorgeous. So I'm wondering if there's anything about you that many of us don't know that you would be willing to share.
I knew something like that was going to come. Something people don't know about me that I'm willing to share. Sure, I think I can keep it high level enough that people aren't going to be thrown back. But I grew up here in Seattle. I grew up with a dad who was lieutenant in the Seattle Fire Department, and my grandpa was the chief of Seattle in the fire department. So I grew up a rat in the fire station, running around, idolizing these heroes that I saw. So I actually grew up wanting to be a firefighter and trained with the fire department from the time I was 18 to 21. as I was going through college and working. And I quickly realized that my frame probably was not ideal for the role. In addition to, they are so underpaid, it's ridiculous, but that was always my passion. And my dad is my biggest hero because of it. But yep, I grew up wanting to put on a hat and run into burning buildings.
Oh, this is so good. This is so good. I'm about to totally dig into this. So there is always something that even if that career wasn't a fit for you, there's always something like something you learned or a transferable skill that you extrapolated from that helps to make you so great at what you do today. What is that thing?
Yeah, well, definitely they are extroverts, right? Anybody in the firefighter or first responders are extroverts because they have to be by trait. So that's probably me to a T. Nobody would ever describe me as an introvert. I'm always out there and making conversation and hopefully developing relationships stronger. I think that skill set can often be a blessing, but sometimes a curse. So it's a fine balance to make sure that I'm not overextending my personality or my efforts in one direction or the other. Over the last 15 years, it's definitely been a skill I've had to think about, whether it's, don't react and sleep on it, make sure that, you're making the right professional decision, which growing up as a kid, I would have reacted and blown up, and the situation probably would have gotten thrown back in my face. So all of those skill sets, just growing up and knowing I wanted to do something out in the world to help, is where I've landed today.
Wow. And it's funny that you reframed this character trait, or this personality trait rather, of extroversion and the pros and cons of it, right? Where an extrovert is a little bit more emotional, right? And more expressive. And as a firefighter, you got to kind of dial that back while you're dealing with whatever crises or challenge, something you then learned and applied to business now. You're still that expert, it's required of you, but now you know to sleep on it. If you ever allow yourself to sleep, you sleep on it. That's such a great way of looking at it. So naturally, you probably have other big dreams. You dreamt of being a firewoman. You've built this great career. Is there any other hurdle you want to overcome, or place you want to go, or kind of that be, do, have thing? What's your big bodacious dream?
I don't know that I have a big bodacious dream, more of a simple dream. My focus right now is really just to keep my head down and bust my butt for the next 7 or so years, God willing, and just focus on FranDevCo, growing the company, growing brands, helping them get from 20 locations to 200 locations. I think that watching that progress is so fulfilling and rewarding that if I can make that happen and get to a financial position in 7 or so years, I just want to take a step back and have a house in the desert, have a house here in Seattle, boat with my family, go for a run when I want, actually have time to focus on me and my family and my friends. And that would be the best dream come true.
Yeah, and quality of life. I love it.
You know what, Tracy, as I'm thinking about what Allison said, is that's an example of someone who's on purpose.
Yeah. Yeah.
When you're loving what you're doing, can't think even for a moment about changing it, just want more of it. That's purpose, right? That's passion. So I thought that was an incredible answer.
That's a good point, Rebecca. I am curious to hear a little bit more about this dialing the big personality back. And here's the reason why. Because Rebecca and I, we love to study emotional and social intelligence. We've created a training program on it. And in order for you to dial, or for someone, let's say, to dial a big personality back, it means that they've got to be able to read the room. Mm-hmm. That's a big part of dialing it back. Mm-hmm. Can you add to that? Can you expand upon it? Tell us more about it.
For sure. So in this industry, as we all know, so many different personalities, and the most interaction I have today in this role is with brokers and consultants. Some of them are doing it full time. Some of them are doing it part time. Most of them I can text and have open dialogue with, but their personalities aren't the same. So some of them might be great with me saying, hey, let's jump on a call and we can hash this out. Others want to get very analytical and dive deeper into the strategy and the problem solving. Reading a room has never been a challenge for me. I think I've been pretty adaptable with personalities enough to know who I can come in hot with and who I can't. It's just something that I don't really have to think about. But in this industry, it's for sure, because you can offend somebody very easily and not really know that it came across that way. And it's hard to get it back. It's hard to step back with people in this industry. Kind of like I've said before, when you burn that bridge, it's hard to get the trust back. And some people are a little bit more forgiving than others.
What about if somebody isn't like you and doesn't exactly know how to read the room? Like, what advice would you give to them on reading the room or dialing it back?
Yeah. And the biggest thing that I've learned is just listen, just take a step back, listen, sit, watch, evaluate. It's often better when you're not speaking, which is another thing I've tried to do more and more of, is just watch, listen, learn. You get so much by just watching people's interactions and not being actually engaged in the situation that would be my biggest advice.
That's great.
You know, there's actually, Allison, research on those that speak less in certain situations are perceived as more intelligent and more trustworthy. So an extrovert who's naturally, I am too, la 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 la, right? I'm always talking. You literally have to dial it back to increase credibility, increase authority, and like you said, listen, for goodness sake.
Right. It's funny. We came off this conference last week and I had a couple of my friends in the industry texting me that I'm so corporate now. And I'm like, what do you mean I'm so corporate now? And they're like, we didn't get to hang out and party. I'm like, no, that's just me finding my balance. Yeah.
Nothing's changed.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I guess that's a thing, right? I guess that is a thing, because people see it or they perceive it as a change, right? And we all do. We all grow and evolve over time, right? And sometimes I guess that could be scary for others. Do you think?
Yeah, I think so. I think they're so used to seeing me in an environment differently that if anything gets thrown off, even if it's the smallest thing, they're going to give me some slack for it for sure.
Yeah. It's nice to have that feedback, though, I would think, Allison. I know over the years for me, getting advice, getting feedback has been really important for my own personal and professional growth. Was there any advice or feedback you've gotten that was particularly helpful in your journey?
Yeah, I mean, from mentors that I've worked with, I think there's been a lot of tidbits I've taken away. The sleep on it, don't react. Finding people you can lean on. This is not just jump in and do this industry independently, because there's so many people willing to help. I think a lot of new people to the industry, especially women, think that you're going to get the Heisman if you try and approach women and get support, and that's not the case at all. In fact, there's tons of groups out there that people are part of that actually support the growth of women or franchising in its whole. There's also lots of groups within different franchise broker networks that all come together and support each other. So that would be my two biggest things. Don't be reactive in this business, because it's never good. Always find a support system that you can lean on. And remember, this isn't just job. This isn't just money. It's not just a career. If you open your heart to it, you can develop some really good relationships. And I know personally, I mean, these are going to be my lifelong friends.
I've got the song "Lean on Me" playing in my head now, looping in my head. I guess my question for you would be also a slight pivot, which is, did you ever have a challenge or something that you needed to overcome, or a situation that you learned and grew from that you can share with us?
Yes. So as my journey from leaving Guidant Financial to landing at FranDevCo today, which was about 1.5 to 2 years, there was a lot of challenges. I was thrown into a role that I had no skill set for, which was, it was good because it made me learn quickly and really jump in feet first. So that was my first challenge. Luckily, I had one of my mentors to lean on who was at the company at the same time, but also just the challenge of working in an environment that felt a little hostile at times. It wasn't a, hey, we're all here to support you type situation, which I was not used to because I had that at Guidant before. So being able to kind of take a step back and realize that I wasn't going to sacrifice my health and my career being in a toxic situation that wasn't making me happy every day. I got to learn new skills. I got to develop a lot of different parts of my franchise experience that I didn't have before, but ultimately I wasn't happy. So it wasn't worth it to me. Every day I woke up and I did the job well to the best of my ability, but I knew at the end of the day, it wasn't where I was going to be long-term. So that was hard to overcome, but I think I had to go through that to get to where I am today.
Thank you for
Yeah.
sharing that. A lot of
Yeah.
lessons in that.
I think the path to where we're supposed to be includes those kinds of things to develop our character, to develop our skills, and honestly, to get to know ourselves better, right?
True. And we do want different things as we grow. Maybe 10 years ago, I would have been fine with that and I would have stuck it out. But where I'm at today, I knew that that ultimately was not the place for me.
I love that you took the opportunity, though, to learn new skill sets. You know, at Zorich Profiles, we study fit, right, between franchisor and franchisee. So we're always evaluating values and culture. And it sounds a little like you could develop the skills, but the culture wasn't a good fit.
That's great. That's exactly right. Spot on.
Yeah, and for someone else, it could have been, right? It could have been
Right,
a great
for
fit
sure.
them.
Definitely.
It just wasn't for who you were. And you recognized it and opened the door to another opportunity. So we talked a little bit, Allison, that it appears you are truly living your purpose and living your passion. I'm wondering if you could expound on that a little bit and tell us how purpose and passion has been a part of your life. Have you been conscious of these things? Was it something that evolved? Is it just accidental? Tell us what role passion and purpose has had in your life.
If I would to just narrow it down to one thing that brings me both, it would probably just be being active, fitness. I grew up playing sports since the time I was 5. I still play soccer and softball today, just with an older set of kids. But you know, being active and being fit, not just for the weight loss component of it, because that's really not the reason why I do it, is something that's very near and dear to my heart. I be active to just train for life, for lack of better words, but it's also my escape. It's my time that I can get away, whether I go for a run or I hit the gym, and really just decompress. This job and being a mom and being a wife, it can add a lot of stress. And if you don't take the time to actually step away and do something that's going to help you kind of clear your mind, at least just for an hour, then you're going to be in bad shape down the road. So fitness has always been my purpose and passion, and I will do it as long as my body allows me to keep challenging it.
No, that's great. And for you, it's fitness, but in general, I think your theme is self-care. Self-care is important, whatever that looks like for each person. And by the way, I got the visual of Reese Witherspoon in that baseball or softball movie that she was in.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of which one it was. Was it Reese Witherspoon?
Reese, yes, with did I say her name wrong?
No.
Yeah, with Owen Wilson.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, such a cute movie. Love that.
Yes. I love both of them. I'll watch anything with them.
Right.
Well, she's got a great sense of humor.
Yeah.
I love it.
She does.
Let's shift back to the world of franchising for a second. Having been in this space for 15 years, I've been in it 30 years. I've seen a ton of changes, including more women coming into this space and this beautiful, supportive environment. On the other hand, I can see positive changes and things that still need to change. you're coming in from a youthful set of eyes and another perspective. Is there anything that you would change in business, in franchising, that comes top of mind to you?
That's a good question. That I would change. I don't know that I would change anything, as I would encourage the evolvement of the way we're already going and the directions we're going. I see so many different groups and committees being formed, and even within the FSOs, I think there's been change. We want to be an arm to a brand partner that is like family. Family obviously is very important to us at FranDevCo. So this isn't just going to be a well-oiled machine. We are going to work with people that we actually truly care about. So I think there's been a change in not only just the way the industry thinks, with women coming in and supporting each other, but also the way that different parts of the industry operate and act. If we keep going in a direction of irresponsible franchising, which puts some brands in a very unhealthy situation, then we are all going to be out on the streets. So I think for us at FranDevCo, being responsible, working with brands that have the right expectations and not just turning and burning them, is a big focus. And I think I'm starting to see more of that. At least I hope I am. And that just makes us all that much more powerful. And hopefully we'll leave legislation off our shoulders for a bit.
Yeah. I like the word responsible. The responsible franchising. Much of that has evolved and changed. And as more of us look at it through those eyes, what do we have to do to help our franchisors do it well, do it right? And then, of course, how do we help our brokers and our prospective franchisees step into something that is designed to sustain and designed to let someone get to the goals that they want, their aspirations they want. So I agree. Those things are changing, and I think it's something that has to continue to be focused on. Responsible franchising.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like
How about
that.
in yourself? How about in your world? Anything you're going, oh, if I had a magic wand, I would change this about myself or about the world or about a situation. Is there anything like that?
About myself, if I could just double myself, that would be great, just to crank more stuff out daily. But obviously that's not a reality. Patience for sure can always be evolved within me. I think within the world, obviously mental awareness right now, just having kids that have gone through COVID and seeing a lot of their friends just kind of get into positions that are very dark has been scary. So continuing for society to recognize that and support it before it's too late. The other thing is, a lot of people shockingly probably don't know that I'm a complete empath. So I cannot process child death or abuse. It like wears on my heart forever. So if I could wave my magic wand, I would, I know trust in God, protect them, but free will is a real thing, and it will continue to be a real thing. So wave my magic wand and throw a blanket over these children and protect them.
Yeah. I
That's
just saw
really
last night,
special.
Allison, the movie Sound of Freedom. I don't know if you've seen it yet.
Mm-mm.
It's basically to that point of child sex trafficking,
Mm-hmm.
slavery, and just horrific, the things that are going on. And you're thinking these precious innocents, created in his image, are vulnerable
Yeah,
to
all
these.
they did was be born, and this is what they get. It's just so tragic, and it's disgusting.
Yeah.
I'm gonna cry.
Don't cry.
It's
That I wave the magic wand, cover them all, protect them from harm. That would be my dream.
Well,
yeah.
that's my prayer. I'm gonna cover them,
Yes.
Yeah.
with prayer, because you're right. It's the world seems to be, in my opinion, getting more evil. And when you're attacking these little ones, I like that goal. I like, if I could change anything, that would be it. And if enough of us pulled together to do that, we could, right?
Yeah.
We could make a dent. We could, for sure.
I think it goes back to what you were saying about being an empath. I think it's not that the world is getting more evil, it's that we're losing compassion and empathy.
Mhm.
And we need to build up that muscle.
Right.
We need to
I
build
mean,
up.
another school shooting. Oh, it happened again. Like that should never happen again, ever. Nobody should ever walk into an elementary school and want to hurt children.
No.
Well, that got really dark fast. Okay, let's turn this
Okay,
around.
sorry. Let's shift gears a little bit. Let's talk about the positives of being an empath. I mean, clearly being empathetic and being an empath has allowed you to understand people more quickly and see within them things maybe they can't even see themselves, right? Whether that's then to encourage them to see that or to support and nurture them in certain areas. There's got to be some wonderful benefits of being this empath.
Benefits, yes, for sure. I think being an empath has allowed me really to, in business life, at least understand the entrepreneur and their journey. And it's not always going to be the right journey for them. So I think transparency goes along with being an empath. Knowing what their situation is, taking the time from your very first call to really spend the first 10 minutes learning about them. What are they looking to do? What's their why? Definitely helps support being an empath, but not everybody is always receptive to it. So it gets back to being adaptable again.
Mhm.
Yeah. Wow. So, Allison, where can our audience members reach you?
Well, they can reach me through LinkedIn. They can reach me through the FranDevCo website. Many of them are already connected to me on social. So I'm pretty easy to find.
If you were going to leave our audience members with, one piece of advice, what would it be?
Wow, just one piece of advice. Oh, that's a good one. One piece of advice.
You've got so many.
I know, right? In the world, just be kind. In the industry, support each other, lift each other up, have your back.
Yeah.
Be nice. Be nice.
Just be kind.
Nice. I was just having this conversation with a dear friend of mine last night. The part about supporting one another. I think we have this hectic, busy world and life, and like you said, juggling 1,000 things. Sometimes we might miss how we can have another person's back or support them. They all of a sudden we discover they're going through something and we didn't even know. And that's so important, and vice versa, right? Who has our back? The busyness of life sometimes has us not in tune to that. Unless you're an empath, then of course you have it.
No, not to that level, but yeah, I mean, especially too, that a lot of us are remote. Most of us are working from our own offices and we're not together as much as we need to be. So finding those ways through technology or text or whatever it is to make sure that we're all staying connected is really important to us at FranDevCo. In fact, we have a team chat that we're on daily, so we know what's happening personally or professionally, and we can celebrate or support is really important to us.
Yeah. The remote working has its own benefits and detriments, of course. Yeah. Allison, this was so worth the wait.
Thank you. I appreciate you so much.
This was
I'm
so
so
worth the
sorry.
wait. I honestly would love to see about getting a handful of your colleagues together to discuss this very point of having one another's back and kindness, and how we can foster that in this space of franchising, because creating that kind of environment is contagious, right? So
Mhm.
we're already doing it, but how can we up it just a little bit more to continue to be kind to one another and support one another? So maybe we can put our brains together and come up with actual best practices or ways to do that.
Yeah, that would be great. It's so easy just to think of this as a job and be a robot and not let your guard down. And when you do that, you're just hurting yourself, because there's so many great people in this industry that I can't imagine not doing life with from here on out.
Yeah, me too,
Aw.
Susie. Me too. Thank you so much for being with us today. We appreciate you carving out time.
Thank you both very much. This was very fun. This has been to be the best hour of my day for sure.
Yay, that makes us happy. Tracy, I'm going to punt it over to you, hon. what are your final thoughts about this beautiful lady?
My final thoughts are something that you said earlier, which is that your heart, Allison, is just as gorgeous as you are. We often see people, right? And we assume what their lives are like or what kind of person they are from the outside. But it would be such an interesting world if we saw the visual of what somebody's heart looked like on the inside and we saw it and read it externally, right? Because in your case, it just all matches. And I love the work that you're doing. And just I think that is a great mission of building more empathy and kindness in the world. And I see that you're taking steps and doing that within the franchise industry and beyond. So kudos to you. It was a pleasure meeting you and just hearing your thoughts and hearing what you had to share. And I also love your concept of people helping people, women lifting people up, because we've all been in situations, maybe there's somebody listening to this right now who maybe is in corporate America and she's really sick and tired of being in there. And then all of a sudden, like hearing these words and thinking to themselves, like, hey, I can be in the franchise world. I can be among women who are like-minded women, who are empathetic, who are supportive. Let me get in touch with Allison. Let's see what's out there. You just never know whose life or whose family you might change. So thank you again for being with us today and for your wonderful words of wisdom.
Thank you both. You guys are very, very sweet. I would not have expected this to be as rewarding as it has been. I really appreciate the three of us jumping on this podcast, whether we record it or not. It's just great to do, even if it's expanding to more and more women. And I think the more we share the word and recognize each other for their true self and their efforts, then the better off we're going to be.
Yeah. I had this crazy picture as both of you were chatting of, wouldn't it be nice if we could see when we met someone and we're building a relationship, some kind of a bar graph that says her heart is full, her heart is empty. I need to, feed into it, nurture that. It's kind of like a bank, is it full or is it empty? Some kind of calibration, because we don't always know. And in business, frequently, we act like we got it all together and we act tough, and we may not be fully full. And being an empath allows you to see it, but the rest of the world doesn't always see it.
Right.
So I'd love to have some way to measure it. As a scientist, I want a way to measure
Figure it out, Rebecca.
Right.
Figure this out.
We need a color code.
Yeah.
Yes. And even as an empath, it's only as useful as slowing down to recognize that you don't know what journey they're walking through. So that can be a challenge at times as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Thanks again.
Thank you both.
Thank you for listening in. Those that are listening to the show today, the Franchise Woman podcast, where passion and purpose collide, profits are made, and relationships are forged, the very topic we're talking about today. So click on the button below, listen to this entire show, but most importantly, share it, and we'll see you next week for another episode.